Hello again. We are not sovereign citizens. Sovereign citizen is a oxymoron. You cannot be supreme ruler and a subject at the same time. You see how my ears did that thing? That was cute, wasn't it? Anyway, you cannot be a supreme ruler and a subject or citizen at the same time. We are subject to sovereigns. Our supreme sovereign is Allah, Father of the universe. His prophet is our earthly sovereign that we are subject to. Period. All right? Once we understand these principles, then we can move forward. Once we, as responsible citizens of the Al Moroccan Empire, the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and clean our own septic tank, then we'll be on the right track to taking on the affairs of men. But for the record, for those who see this, there's nothing in our doctrine that speaks about doing the things that Moorish Americans are doing. Nothing. And if it is not in our doctrine, and our doctrine is on the internet, it's transparent, it's free to anybody to look at. Use that as a guideline for when somebody says they're free and sovereign more, but don't own 5 pairs of pants. They're not Moorish Americans, because no Moorish American jurisdiction that I know that is legitimate speaks that way. There are some out there, and this is a problem. It's a problem that Moorish Americans have to solve. So I respectfully request the U.S. jurisdiction to let us solve our problems in our society and meet with us, because we mean no harm. The Moorish Divine and National Movement, or any of the indigenous tribes, I'm talking anti-BIA, have never been a violent threat to law enforcement. Ever. 98% of the time, the aggression comes from law enforcement. I myself, on several occasions, have been told by law enforcement that the police academy says, if you're a Bay or an ill, that they're one of those sovereigns. That's a lie. And that's a burden of our religious beliefs and practices. The constant attack is an act of genocide, respectfully. So, wisdom would dictate that you find a Moorish scholar to go into the academy and answer questions so they know the difference, so they have a reference. Because we do have a problem with African Americans putting fezzes on and downloading garbage information off the internet and professing to be Moors. Being a Moor is not paperwork. Being a Moor is not beating court cases. Being a Moor is being upright, fearless, independent, noble, regal, loyal, respectful, love for his people and his family. Not only his family, but all of the Moorish families. Obeying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's what being a Moor is all about. Carrying yourself like a man and a responsible woman. Teaching your kids those things that make them better citizens of your society, meaning the Moorish society. Am I talking crazy? Don't the Hasidic Jews have their own society where you have children that grow up from birth to an adult before they see their first person that's not Jewish? That's usually in college somewhere, and then they have their own colleges. They'll send them over to Israel. You have some Chinese, Han or Mongols, that were born and raised in Chinatown. And the first non-Chinese they've ever saw was when they went to college or they traveled somewhere. Now it's becoming less common, but that used to be the norm when I first came in here. You got Spanish Harlem, where you have people who they don't speak English because their society don't speak English. One of our officials rode on a Mexican bus line, on a Hispanic bus line. Everybody spoke Spanish on the thing, including the driver. There was no need for anybody to interpret anything because that society created a bus line to cater specifically for their society. Black does not mean more. So Moors, I'm saying this because it's time for our bus line. It's time for our transportation department. That's why we established it June 8th, 2011, to create jobs for Moors. That's the primary objective. It is so humiliating when someone tells you, well, if you go get a state ID, then we have no problem hiring you. But then you have immigrants from south of the border that don't even have that. They're not even citizens. And they work their behinds off in jobs that you should have as an American, as a Moorish American. So there are a lot of things that has to be fixed. And this is why we have better things to do than to argue about what jurisdiction, what grand body you're a part of, and how long your fez is, and how big your turban is, and who runs who. Collectively, we have to standardize who we are as Moors. And we have to demonstrate it not only to this U.S. corporation, but we have to demonstrate it to the world. Let's stop playing, people. Peace, love, and honor. Bopa Masa.